Yeah, I would like to share.
Munich, welcome.
Hello first. I am Maha from Alter Unit. And actually, while working on the first assignment, we worked with our coach, Mrs. Muna, and we actually realized that we were trying to solve two problems that are really different in one idea, which really didn't like help us to develop more our idea. But then when working with Mrs. Muna and just trying to find the right way to work, we actually find out a new insight how to think about the idea and how to make it work. And with the customer interviews and the expert interview as well, it helped us have like a more determined insight about what we are trying to do. And we just followed one problem that we have to solve, and now we have like a real value proposition that will not just be something that is just abstract, but we have a concrete value proposition. And I think that that was the greatest learning in this first assignment.
Okay, thank you. And how many customers have you been able to interview before getting to reviewing this assumption?
We actually got the assumption, then we did the customer interview to be sure about what the assumption we had. So it was like just the customer interviews helped us be sure of what we are doing.
Okay, so you didn't really start with an assumption. You started interviewing to build the assumption, not having an assumption, testing it and reviewing it, right?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So my point was, because usually people start with assumptions, go
Yes.
test and review. Is it what you did,
Yeah,
or did you really
that's
go?
what we did.
Okay.
We had an assumption that we, through the customer interviews, we tested that assumption and then we reviewed it. So that was the way to be sure of what we're doing.
Okay. Are there any teams out there that completely had to review the assumption because it appeared not to be relevant to the customer? Okay. So
I think people are kind of shy today.
yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry. I mean, the objective of this session is to really get you ready. So, Zach, let's move on. So you already had a great training with David concerning the competition analysis bootcamp. And he's, I mean, I don't know if you see his picture here. I was saying you only exist because you offer something different. So make sure you build a unique positioning. At this stage, what we would like you to do before the next home assignment now is to really try to do another focus and look much more closely to your competitors. Zach?
And for that, like this is like a quick reminder, asking you if you remember like the three main key concepts David talked about during the last session. And it's okay if you happen to forget some of them. This is why we're here. We're here to remind you, and we're here to reshare the information. So basically, the main three key concepts that we talked about during the session with David were like, what was your core? What's your competitive advantage? And what's your critical success factor? So if any of you could remind us about what your core as a startup really is. So like, what's the definition of a core of a startup?
Go ahead, Zach. Let's help them. I think it's the end of the day. Let's go.
Maybe I can share with you, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Perfect. Please do.
This is Abdel Ali from Spotter. So, well, our core is we will offer instant check verification for businesses suffering from return checks. Okay, So our competitive advantage. So there are we've identified two players already existing. I mean, in the market. One of them is offering check certification, a certification de chèque. So here we're not doing the same. We're offering different stuff that we will help businesses to undertake their know your customers. So we will just give them records about who is this customer. So it's slightly different. And there is one other player in the market, which is a delegate from the central bank who manages the central services of unpaid checks. So it's like historical data. He's not looking to the current data, but historical one. So here we do say that our competitive advantage is that we will offer this instant visibility. I mean, day and night. 24 hours, 7 days every 7 days. And in addition, we will offer. For example, the first player is offering his service, and the player sells like a small scanner. They scanner for users, but here we will use only optical character recognition, machine learning model, which is embedded in a mobile app. So there is no hardware there. It's only software. Well, to be honest, critical success factors where we haven't yet identified them. Maybe we need to work on them. So this is why I want to share with you.
So how do you think you're going to proceed to identify critical factors?
Well, maybe we need to benchmark our service with the services that are existing, even if they are not similar. And maybe we can say that those factors that others will be hard to copy by other players.
Yes, but at the same time, you also need to make sure that you really spend time interviewing the customer to make sure that this is precisely what the customer wants. Because sometimes we spend time fine-tuning features, while in reality, those are not necessarily the features that the customer would be looking at.
True.
So it is really an incredible balance between what the competition is doing, how you're going to position yourself, and what is perceived as fundamental and critical in the eyes of the customer. And that is why, and if you look at, for instance, iOS and the constant updates of iOS, it's also because there is an observation of how the customer behaves. And that's why through time, it is improved, because we better understand how the customer behaves, what he's looking for, how he better prefers the interaction with the interface. And that's precisely the critical success factor.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Zach, you want to take another example, or shall we move on?
Well, if someone wants to share his example, he's welcome to. Otherwise, we can move on. Yes, please, go ahead.
This is Reem Chablis from Glutech, ST8. I'm sorry, I'm not putting the picture. So our core, I didn't understand very well our core, but I believe the core is like the priority you want to work on, and our priority, for example, for us is the celiac patients. As for the competitive advantages, since we're lucky to have a celiac patient with us, we're aware that probably the other devices that are already on the market to detect gluten are more old, less portable, less more expensive. It's $5 per test. Our device is probably very cheaper. You only scan the food once. You don't have to touch the food or use a chemical substance. It's only by scanning. So to a lot of, we did interviews, thanks to the interviews of last assignments, we saw how many people were unease with the method.
Back to a point that you mentioned that's extremely important. You said the customer is not at ease while using the other products. How did you observe this?
Because as I said, we have a celiac patient with us who already tried, and he's on a lot of groups with celiac patients associations, and everybody has the same complaints, because we studied a bit all the patients and the available solutions, and everybody says the same thing. It's uneasy. It's uneasy. You have to touch the food, take a food, always have it on you. It's heavy. It's expensive. So that's how we know.
Exactly. So the critical success factors are precisely those elements that are considered as being important, and it is really mandatory to list them and probably try to see in priority what they are. And also something important, keep in mind that usually, and it's something very common, the customer does not necessarily what exactly is bothering them. I mean, customers don't necessarily know. And sometimes, so we tend to think that the customer absolutely knows what's important, but in reality, not always and not necessarily. And so that is why when it comes to the critical success factors that on which you are going to build and choose your competitive advantage, it is mandatory to do a mix between interview, but also observation. Give you an example. I don't know if in Morocco, your bottles of water look like this, but you know, for instance, in Europe, more of the bottles are thinner in the way the bottle, I mean, usually they have the system where you can just drink water without pitting it. So basically, there are observation and ways where by sitting and looking at how your customer behaves, you will identify the difficulties that the customer is not necessarily aware of. So it's a mix between what they say and what you observe. So I'll give you an example. If you think at phones for people that are elderly, what happens usually is that they tell you, my grandmother, for instance, would tell me, can you read this message for me? The grandmother won't necessarily say that the phone doesn't show well the numbers, but by observing it, you might think that you want to produce something that is much bigger size for elderly people. So I don't know if that's a bit to put the concepts in place.
Exactly, and this is why most like elderly choose like something like tablets and iPads, since they have bigger screens, and like most of the consumers of tablets are elderly, and probably the reason is since it has a bigger screen, so they are more able to read. Just before moving on, just like to correct small concept about the core. So basically, the core is the thing that is internal, like in contrast with other aspects we're talking about, in which you'll be looking to the customer. The core is the part where you look internally into your company or startup. It's the thing that you do have and your competitors do not. It's like your secret sauce, something you do to be able to give the key success factors, to be able to give something to the customers that they want. So basically, the core is something that is internal within the startup that helps you create the key success factors that you will be presenting to in your product to your customers.
Exactly. I don't know if this is clearer. Let's make sure that that is. I don't remember exactly. Let me check who asked this question. But is it clearer to you now what core is? Yes. Okay. Thanks.
For us to repeat it. Like just one more time quickly. So basically, defining your core is the step in which you look internally to your startup. It's not really related to the customers directly. It's more related to how you do things internally. So it's basically your secret sauce, the way you do things within the startup to be able to produce your to be able to create your competitive advantage that you will be presented within your product. So basically, to sum it up, your core is something that is internal to your startup, something that people cannot see, but it helps you be more productive, be more efficient in your product.
Can you give them another example, Zach, just to make sure?
Okay, let me really think of an example here.
Think at, for instance, the Incubator Founder Institute. I mean, they have a program where they have content, where they have home assignments, where they have a demo day, where they offer pre-seed money, etc. But their core, their real core is that altogether it provides an exposure to the startups that are there that give legitimacy to the startup. So it's not only just the content or the assignments, or it is the exposure because you belong to a certain community. So it makes the competitive advantage more difficult to copy paste as long as you're not able to build the same branding and to offer the same exposure. I don't know if it's that clear, Sarah.
Actually, I think I understood a bit, but like, how do you know? Like, how do you know you are offering that? Like, and others aren't doing it, because it's a bit difficult to figure out.
Totally agree. It is difficult and it's not easy. It takes time to identify the core, and sometimes we do mistakes in identifying our core. So it takes exercises, focus groups to get to understand what we are able to really provide. That, so it's understanding the consumers, understanding how they perceive us. And when you start in the beginning, you fix the core that you want to develop, but it is with time that you build it, with constant back and forth with your customer.
Okay.
And yes, Sarah, it's not something that you know from the beginning.
And like, to help you start better understand it, like, ask yourself one question: is why your business can provide customers with a solution that other businesses cannot nearly as well. So basically, it's what you're doing internally to be able to create that product. It could be someone, the way the team works, it could be something related to how you create the product. It's something that people cannot see, but helps you create the final product, help you create the product that you'll be presenting to others.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I do have one question, if you allow me. So here I see that you've written your competitive advantages. Does that mean that we need to have more than one? Because I say to myself, if we identify only one, so we're lucky. Because here means that we need to work on to build more than one competitive advantage.
So so sorry, I'm not sure that I really heard it well. The question was, do we need to have more than one?
I mean, here you've written your competitive advantages. So, but I said to myself, if we succeed to build only one, so we're lucky. But do you mean that we need to have more than one competitive advantage?
Not necessarily. Usually you start really focusing on one main competitive advantage, but you do have startups that tell you, for instance, we work on two main aspects. Imagine Gluten startup could say, we're really going to make sure that we are building the lightest instrument that's going to be the most rapid and the less expensive. So if you manage to do all three together, it's even better.
Okay, I see. Thanks.
Zach,
okay.
Can you move on? Go ahead. You can start this one.
Okay, so here will be to move further into explaining what should be doing to define your competition. We'll be taking the example of Airbnb. If no one, some of you don't know it, Airbnb started in 2008 with two friends that shared their space with three travelers, and then they decided to create Airbnb, which stands for Air, Bed, and Breakfast, so that they now hosts and travelers around the world can host their Airbnb platform, their houses, their rooms, to their space, so that people can book and stay at them while they travel. So first, we took like different examples from the internet, done by different companies and different groups, so that to explain to you that defining the key success factors or your competitive advantage might be different. It's not something that is true or false. Like some people might define it in a way, others in another, depending on how you see your customer. So for this first example, they took like 3 other competitors in which they focused on which kind of platform do they have? Are they able to send invitation to collaborate? Is there a rating system? And is there a day-to-day overview? So that they compare these points. Like basically, this is to show you that someone chose these criteria, but they are not necessarily true or false. But there is a reason behind why they chose these criteria specifically. So let's say this is done by someone other than Airbnb. Let's say this is done by Luna. So Luna focused only on having a website. They did not focus on having a mobile app. They did include the part in which they are able to send an invitation to collaborate, and they also included the day-to-day overview, which Airbnb did not. And I'm explaining this to say that maybe Luna focused more on their customers, on their niche, and figured the niche they are working on prefer having a day-to-day overview, and they don't really care about having a rating system included. So, and moving on to another example in which it's about like competitors matrix. In this one, they focused more on whether it's affordable or expensive, and whether it's online or offline. Since again, they might be different, since people focus on different factors depending on the niche they are working on. And lastly, this is done by Airbnb, and they think their competitive advantage is that they are first to market. There is a host incentive, so they encourage the host to post this on their house on their platform. They only list once, and then they are forever there unless they want to remove it. The ease of use, so they focused on the user experience. They focused also on having profiles and the design and the brand. And afterwards, Airbnb focused also on one more competitive advantage, and this is also to explain to you that these are not stuff that you create by creating the when you're creating the startup and then you continue working on the same competitive advantages. You will also continue analyzing the market, and if you find that people are looking for something else, you should also create that something. And one thing Airbnb did is they started sending people to take pictures of the houses so that they are better represented in the website, so that people are more encouraged to go to that platform or house when they travel. So they added also that part in the competitive as their competitive advantage, in which they present the houses in a better way to make the experience better for the user.
Yeah, and here, just going back, Zach, just to a point concerning the competitive advantage. So as you can see here, can you stay in that slide? Thank you. No, the third one. So do you agree that these are different competitive advantages? So they're just saying, yeah, I mean, you can make money and we're probably giving a better commission. You have great ways to see the profiles of people. We're really working to improve the customer experience, so that's a real ease of use. I mean, you can filter by price, you can filter by location. And this is not something that was available from day one. That is, the filter, the different filters are improved thanks to artificial intelligence and algorithms that really help you understand what people look for, what are the questions that come up quickly, and the more questions you understand, what are the questions, how do you improve it, and then you slowly improve because you better understand what the market wants. And this is the critical success factor. What were the factors that were really important for people once they were booking? And here it's not only the questions, because we tend not to say everything. So for instance, if you're using Airbnb and that you're having a focus group with them, you might list a certain number of elements, but there are aspects that you need to observe the customer in. You need to be a customer for an Airbnb house, and you need to try to see how convenient is it when you have to take the key. And then once there, is there a way for me to improve so that all the questions related to the website, the heater, the whatever, can I have a system that helps me really improve what the customer wants? Or probably, isn't this important for my customer? Because what if my customer ended up being someone who just goes there, goes out, parties, and then just sleeps? And so in that case, it might mean that that person is going to wake up late. So probably my departure timing doesn't need to be at 11, but probably 2 or 3. So these are the critical success factors. We understand them through going back to the customer all the time, comparing to what competition is doing, and observing how the customer is behaving. What are the most frequent questions you have? What are the most frequent complaints you have? These are all the elements that help you identify the critical success factors on which you build your competitive advantages, because there could be many of them. Is that clearer to you?
It's clear. I mean, especially with this example, for me, it's really. I mean, we can put ourselves on those kind of examples. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, perfect. So let's move on, Zach. Yeah. So just one point here. The objective of our session, and to be honest with you, the objective of all the sessions that you'll be having with your coaches, it's not something that needs to be academic. Use your mentor as someone with whom you want to have a continuous conversation. Your home assignments are not home assignments that we are used to have in the academia. I mean, really take this as an opportunity to learn to really get to the right questions. I mean, these exercises are exercises that you, and again, once you do it one time, it is a process. It's a back and forth process that really helps you understand the method. I'm going to take an example. I don't know if I already gave this example to you, and my friends usually always make fun of me when I give this example, but it really reminds me of the example of Karate Kid. I don't know if you watched this movie. It's probably you're too young, but Karate Kid, his professor was helping him learn karate by doing very weird examples like cleaning a window, and in fact, you didn't understand why you were cleaning the window, but it was a way to get to do the right movement. So these assignments are just a practice to help you ask yourself the right questions. And if tomorrow you change your idea, we really hope that this exercise helps you redeploy this process on and on with the ideas you'll have in your life. Today it will take more time. Tomorrow with another idea, you'll go much quicker. So always start with asking your customer, and then focus on the competition. And so today, what we would like to do is having this peer learning where we want you to, and Zach will be showing the assignments, and then we'll take the teams, and we want you to tell us and start the exercise together, see the questions that the others have. So let's go ahead. Maybe you had a question, I'm sorry. Zach, I think
maybe I can share with you.
I'm sorry,
yes.
Can you repeat?
So this is Abdelali from Spotter. So we've identified 2 competitors for the moment. So the first one is e-theft. The second one is how can I call it? Trocheck.
Zach, have you well understood?
No, well, I think it's better to first I'll present to you all like the home assignment, and then you can Spotter, you can tell us your example again so that everybody is aligned and everybody's know what we're talking about. So
okay, perfect.
I'll start by really quickly showing the assignment. So you all already have this. So basically what you would be doing is you'll be identifying the competitors, and then you'll be sharing what they can do and you cannot do already, and what you can do and they cannot. And this will help you determine your key success factors. So this is the page you'll be filling during this home assignment, and like this is what we'll help you discuss today. We will help you discuss these points, but as Huda already said, you will be working more on it offline, so that you'll be having time to do your research, to ask yourself questions. But here we'll be like seeing where you already stand, and then basically we'll be challenging you to further, like, let's say, improve the way you analyze things and you ask your questions. So if all is clear here, if no one has any questions, we can start with the examples, and this would be going through all this you are seeing now on my screen, and will be, as I already said, challenging your answers. So going back to you, Spotter. So who are the competitors you already identified, and let's start by just telling us what they do exactly.
Okay, so the first player that we have identified, his name is eCert. So he's offering, check certification. For example, the solution this company is offering for example, for some businesses who accepts payment by check. Once you go to, for example, a supermarket and you want to buy your stuff with a check, so this supermarket need to have like a scanner, and they put the
Like
check.
Hardware.
Exactly, hardware and the software at the same time. And they put the check on it, and then they connect to the bank, and then they debit your account immediately. But they are offering this only with one bank, and they are offering this only for physical persons. For example, if a corporate goes to a supermarket to buy stuff, you do not accept checks coming from corporates. They offering it only for physical persons, as I can call it, a personne physique. So this is not the same thing that we are offering, but we've identified that this might be one of our competitors.
Okay.
Zach, do you want to help fill up the? Do you want to put the screen where you have the assignment, so that you show them exactly how they're going to be doing it? Because I think that's the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is important there. Maybe you want to.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, we already went through this page, explaining what each column was made for, explaining how they should start by seeing who their competitors are, and then telling what they can do and they cannot, and what this startup can do and competitors cannot do, so that this helps them determine their success factors.
Perfect.
One point here, do not worry at this stage about, are these three ones the most important ones? Take and pick what you think are the most important ones. Based on what the customer said, based on what the competition is doing, based on your perspective, choose the three ones. And it's fine if you do mistakes. It's normal. We always do mistakes, and the critical success factors always change with time. So start somewhere. And here, what Zach said, and I'm probably taking a bit more time on this, really make sure that because at one point you're going to tell us, which is totally normal, I don't know what the customer is doing in detail. I don't know them. I really don't know the technology that they're using. So how to solve that? Because let's think now technically, you need to do your assignment. We're under COVID. You don't have much time. You don't necessarily know them all. So concretely, how to proceed? Tomorrow you finish this training, you wake up and you're like, oh my God, and now what am I going to do? So there, it's important to start doing a simple industry research online and try to see what are the competitors that are mentioned. If you are a user of these products, you probably know who the competitors are. You can do a Google search on the company and do a lot of Google searches just to get to understand. You'll find a lot of elements that where the companies are talking about what they're doing, where they might have also comments and blogs where the customers are talking about the product. You know, the blogs, it's an incredible source of information that is there, free and very spontaneous. And so based on that, I mean, you will need to be very creative about how you are going to understand who they are and what they're doing. And it's not, plus of course the basic things that, such as the price, etc., because you might find it online, or you might just behave as a customer and do some mysterious customer exercise. But that is fundamental. That is, once you're able to do that, you can also sit again with some customers and tell them, okay, so you're using that product, what do you like in it, and how would you compare it, and why have you chosen that product? So see, it's that several sources of information for you to be able to identify the main ones, the main competitors, to identify what they can and what we can't. I mean, they can do it, but technically, for instance, I'm doing Glucan and there is a technology that I'm not able to deliver. I mean, I don't feel that I can do that. So can I do something else? And so even if on that technology, I'm not going to be amazing, probably my product will still allow me to be less expensive, even if the technology is a bit weaker. Maybe that this product will give me quicker results. And then if the customer sees the rapidity as something that is critical, then I have something that distinguishes me. Think at, for instance, the COVID test. I don't know what are the products that you have there in Morocco, but in Tunisia, for instance, we just have one test, which is expensive. It costs 200 dinars, which hurts. It's the one you put in the nose, and you need to wait at least 24 hours for the result. What if, as a customer, I accept that the results might be less certain, but less expensive and more rapid as a result? If I am, as a customer, I'm telling you, I don't care about how certain the result is. If it's less expensive, I still take it. It means that the critical success factor is there, and it means that there is space for a product that is focusing on that very specific critical success factor. Okay. I'm not sure if my network is great. I really hope that that example, those two small examples could better help. Yes? Okay, thanks, Salim. Okay, Zach, go ahead.
Clear, Huda, thank you. Okay, so
the comments on the conversation chat, they say great, so we can go ahead. So we just
okay.
Okay, so basically, this is your opportunity to be able to share and get feedback from everyone. So, like, please feel free to open your mic and share with us who you already think your competitors are. It's okay if you're not advanced. It's okay if you only know their names. This is what we'll be doing. We'll be challenging you to know more, and like basically everybody is here to give their feedback. So please feel free to open your mic and share with us what you think already exists on the market in terms of competitors to your startup.
Don't be shy. We know that you probably don't have any clue at this stage, and it's fine. This is why we are really pushing you to do this exercise next.
I'm trying to encourage my team to step
yes.
up. Come on, guys. Free advice.
Hello.
So,
go ahead, Jumana, go.
Okay, I'm Jumana from Amagar, and I think our competitors for now are Jumia first thing, and there is this website called Artisanat Marocain, where they do basically the same thing. They do not have an app though, and that's what we are trying to develop on our side.
Can I
The
suggest,
prices are.
Can I suggest that in a sentence, you just describe the value, the product that you want to develop?
Oh, we are looking to develop a website and application that would allow craftspeople from Dakhla firstly and then from whole Morocco to sell their products online. And
Okay.
that's the main thing, yeah.
Okay,
And
so you
so
mentioned
these are
Jumia,
our.
and the
Yes,
second
I
was
mentioned Jumia and Artisanat Marocaine.
okay.
But Artisanat Marocaine is more, it's leaning towards foreigners. So the prices are usually tagged in euro or dollars, and the prices are very, very high for Moroccan customers, I would say, who are actually our basic clients who we're looking at first. That's for a start, and they don't have a website. And as for Jumia, it lacks specific. It's not specific enough, so it sells general products, even though it's very big and very popular, and people use it. Yet, from the interviews we have done so far, we have realized that they lack customer service, a good customer service, and a lot of them complained about that a lot. They said that they would purchase something and they would be barely in a contact with the seller afterwards, or even to fail a complaint.
Okay, excellent. So in this case, you are still facing a multi-sided platform because you are addressing at the same time the seller who's not necessarily very good at selling online or who needs some support, and a buyer who apparently is already complaining about the fact that they don't have enough of a customer service with the others. You also mentioned the fact that Jumia is less specific, probably in terms of branding. So my question to you is also, who would you define as being your customer segment?
Who are what?
Your customer segment. Who are they? Let's say the highest likelihood is that you'll be serving which type of customer? Can you describe the persona?
We have done that on the homework assignment. So for the clients who are going to buy, we have decided that they should be 18 years or older, that they should be, for a start, we're going to start with the Moroccan people, and then it's going to get international afterwards. They could.
Okay, so Moroccans.
I don't remember for that.
Okay, so local people that are willing to spend. Is it the high-end products or less expensive ones?
For the income of the clients, it should be 2,500 dirhams and higher. So it should start at that, because even from the interviews, these are the incomes that would allow people to have like this amount of money that they would like to spend on artisanal goods.
Okay, so you mentioned the fact that they were complaining about the customer service. To your opinion, what are the other elements that are important for the customers when buying this product? What will they look at on top of the customer service?
Mostly they like to see historical and cultural value that's in the product they are willing to purchase. So whatever artisanal craft that they are trying to get, they want to know what historical value or cultural value it carries, and to what area or to what region it belongs, and all that kind of information. They also like to build a sort of a connection with the artist, know the materials. They like to be informed specifically on what this product is made of.
Okay, so you might say here, concerning, for instance, having more details about the products, its origin and knowing more about the person producing it. Is Jumia proposing the same?
Jumia gives information about the materials, but it's in the description. You can barely like get in touch with the real artist. Usually, it's another seller who is not like responsible for the creation of the product.
So details about the product exists, but nothing really digging deep about the history, etc. And then creating a relationship, a personalized relationship. In the case of Jumia, they are not. And probably in your product, this is what you want to build on, if you consider that this is a critical success factor, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, so this is exactly how, and again, the objective of this session is really to make sure that you're on the right track and that you're not confronted to your home assignments on your own. So it's precisely taking what you consider are here the two competitors, looking at the price, looking at the information about the product, look at the type of relationship you could build with the seller. You could also, and here I'm asking you this question, do you think that your product is going to be well accepted by people who are selling it to you? What's the supply chain and how are you going to organize yourself with people that are selling the product?
Can I get a moment to clarify? My group mates are mentioning that the products of the South, especially in the Dakhla region, are not very known in the North region of Morocco. So that's kind of special for us that we want to have this cultural travel from that region to the other regions of Morocco. Yes, okay.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's interesting. It's fine. I mean, again, we're just taking some teams to get to see what are the types of questions that you should be asking yourself and what's the dynamic that will lead you to do the very first draft of your competition analysis, right? Because, and again, to help you to really try to dig deeper in what could be the critical success factors. Because we often do mistakes about the critical success factors. And we think that what's important is something, but in reality, it is not. Because last question for you before we move to another team, but do you really think that your customer needs to know, wants to know that this product comes from that place? Do you really think that it's not about the brand, that it's not about the quality, that it's not about, what is going to be key?
I really think that originality plays a big role in our service. So I really believe, and I am talking again from the interviews we have led so far, we allowed people to just tell us about the overall experience with the purchase. And they really said that they want something authentic. So when they purchase a product, it really means a lot to them that it's from that specific region and not from this region, because each region is like special in its own customs and heritage, and that's why it matters.
That's amazing. It means that part of your competitive advantage is going to be about building a particular brand that really understands and answers to people who are looking for heritage, understanding of the region, and you can build communities that talk about it, and you can build a lot of things around it. And if you compare yourself to Jumia, you're probably the way you manage your supply chain, the way you brand it, etc. And there's a full set of elements that are going to be part of your competitive advantage, might really find a strong positioning as compared to Jumia, even though Jumia is a giant.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Zab, do you want to pick, how much time do we have left for other examples so that we take other teams? Laina, how much time do we
So
have?
I think we are already at 8 p.m. We can go ahead and continue as you wish. And if the teams want to stay with us, they are more than welcome, of course.
Okay.
Thank
Zach,
you.
what do you-
I think we
Zach
can take
should-
like one or two more examples if someone wants
Let's
to
do
share.
that. So who
And then we
wants
can-
to enter in the arena? Let's test it. Okay, Glücktech, let's go ahead.
Okay. So for Glutect, we have three main competitors. The first one is called Nima.
Okay.
So Nima uses antibodies in capsules and have the result in a digital way, and it comes in small size.
Okay.
The second competitor is called Glutenbox. They detect Glutect using chemical method, but they provide a box for gluten antibodies, which is not very, practical. And the third one is S-gluten, and they detect gluten using a chemical method as well. So we're literally the only ones using infrared lights to scan the food without having to touch it.
Okay.
And
okay, sorry, just before you move on,
yeah,
before you move on, it's interesting that you mentioned the technology, but I have a question for you. To what extent is the customer aware of the technology used?
To what extent?
Yes.
As in our technology or the technology of the competitors?
No, I'm a client. Am I really going to look at the technology, or will I just see the concretization? So you're saying very. So the customer really knows and is aware about the technology. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So the technology used can definitely be something that's clearly, I'd say, the direct. Okay, excellent.
Yes, because for example, our competitors actually uses chemicals. Like you can do it by yourself. It's like you are in a lab.
Yeah.
That is actually what is interesting about the products they are offering.
Okay, and why do you think is the customer still using their products?
No alternatives.
Okay.
Exactly.
And what's the difference in price between their product and your potential product?
Well, their products are more expensive. They use $5 per test. So if you want to do a lot of tests per day, that's a big budget. As for us, you buy it just one time and it's a lifetime usage without having to pay anything.
Okay. To what extent are your results and their results? I mean, who's stronger in terms of results obtained?
Should I go for it?
Yes.
All right. So, actually, for us, we're planning.
Sorry, are you still gluten?
Yeah. We're still from the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, actually, the thing is, our competitors, like they. Sorry, can you repeat your question? It seems like I forgot.
Yes, my question was, in terms of the technology used, do you consider that there is no difference in terms of certainty of the results that you obtain and how strong your results are as compared to them? Will the customer trust your results as opposed to them?
So we will be using a different, different approach. They are using chemical approach, which could be obviously higher, for example, than something that is going to not touch the food. So when it comes to precision, they may be more precise than us. But for example, because we are going to use the spectrometry, like we're just going to use red lights to be able to pick what is in the food exactly. We're not exactly sure like how much it is going to be precise, but we are going to first push it to like the FDA you know, the body that is going to approve this is medically safe or not before actually providing it to our user, which our competitors didn't do so far.
Yeah, or that, and again, your product can become a generic product that you use for daily things, and whenever you want to have something that's even more detailed, you might go for the product that's even more certain.
Yes.
So,
yes.
and that's why you need to understand what's critical to your customer. What if your customer tells you, you know what, I don't care about the fact that it is expensive or about the fact that you're using chemicals. I want to make sure I'm dealing with my kid here, and I'm not joking with my kids. So I want to make sure that I'm taking no risk. So if you have less precision about your result, I still prefer the other one. So it's important for you to know what's critical. And maybe you have two segments. Maybe there might be a segment that is going to use your product for daily things and for some other side products, and that might want to test the products that they consume more frequently. So it's important also to know who's the segment and who are the ones who are the most interested by the critical success, by the elements that you want to offer.
So actually from our interviews, we found out that our customers care deeply about precision. And that is why we are actually stressing, we are having a huge stress on getting approval from the FDA, because they are, you know, like a research body that is of course approved by everyone. So if they say this is okay to go into market, we're going with it. Otherwise we'll go back to our lab and try, you know, like to improve it until we get it satisfied.
That's amazing, but I'd say that's a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. Because you're totally right. In your case, that is what we call a qualifier. If you do not have that, you're not qualified to operate. But since you're doing this analysis, you can push and add other elements to try to see, on top of that qualifier thing, what are the additional aspects that are valued by the customer. So you mentioned price.
Yes.
You mentioned the size. What else can, to your opinion, be something, one other distinctive element that you can compare yourself on?
The fact that it's faster.
Yeah.
Okay. The results. Okay.
Also with our other competitor.
Sorry.
Also with our competitor called Nima, the thing is, for example, the capsules they are given, like if you don't push them in the right way, you can lose a whole, you know, a whole $5, because like each one is $5. So if you don't push it right, you can lose $5. So it's a bit critical, and you know, like you lose money. So without you don't lose anything. Like perhaps it's not the most precise in the world, but at least you won't lose anything. Okay,
great. So is it clearer to you now the type of exercise that you will be conducting with your competitors and with your customers, just to check basically what are going to be those critical success factors that are highly valued by the customers, and to try to review based on, which is amazing because you already have your three competitors. You could also, and this is something that's always interesting to do, have a look at what's going on the international level. Because I do believe that the competitors that you're mentioning are all three in Morocco, right?
No, those are the only ones available internationally.
Okay, then it's perfect. Then in your case, it's going to be much more easy to get to the competitive analysis and to really end up. So, which means basically that the great thing is that you really can dig deep and take your time to review all of the characteristics. And so you can really have a great exercise done there. And please, and that's another exercise, make sure that you are creative about it, because we very easily go to the easy type of answers where we really think that we understand why. But in reality, sometimes there are elements that you don't understand and that are critical. I'll give you one example. In Tunisia, there is a biscuit brand called Sayda. And Sayda, to be honest, doesn't have a great taste. It's just so basic. There's two of them, Sayda and Chocoto. And everyone is wondering, why is the market still buying it? Why is the market still buying it? And in reality, the company that was commercializing this product understood that this was a brand that old people buy because it reminds them of their childhood. And when they started to change the packaging, they had problems. And they had problems because people did not want to change it. Grandmothers and fathers who were buying this product wanted precisely to remember the product as it was. So this is just to say that do not take what you think for granted. And when observing the customer and while thinking that this is what matters and this is why the customer is buying your product, do not, and again, by doing the competition analysis, you're back again to the customer, because by understanding the competitor, you always get back also to the customer because you're doing the critical success factor analysis. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much. I think I got your point.
Okay. Good. So if there's another team who wants to jump in the arena, otherwise, I think, and I hope that we've been able to explain what is expected from you for this second home assignment. Okay, Laina, do you want us to push a bit more with the teams, or do you consider that
as
this
you
is
wish, as you feel? I think that the team is really interested, and they see that there is a lot of, how can I say, well-focused questions and interactions. So please feel free. I don't know if anyone has still questions for Huda and Zach, so we can take the opportunity that they are with us and prepare our next home assignment. Maybe you can give us some good or best practices for the next home assignments globally that we can keep in mind for the next deadline.
Yes. For the next home assignments, Zach, maybe you want to go on with this one, so that I'm not monopolizing the whole session. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want you to keep in mind that this, as we already said during the session, that the factors that you're going to include in this home assignment are not final. Like, feel free to these are stuff you're going to be updating in the future, after the program or even during the program. So don't be too harsh on yourself. Always feel free to go back to your coaches and ask them what they think. This is why they are here. Also, for OST Morocco team, me and Huda are always here to answer any question you have. If you feel like you finished working on this assignment and you want feedback, feel free to send to any of us, whether it's the coaches, the OST Morocco team, or me and Huda. And always be rigorous when looking for information. Like, there are some competitors that maybe you did not see, so feel free to search in Google, feel free to search in LinkedIn, feel free to search in, especially for groups like, let's take the gluten example again. Like, there are many groups in which maybe there is another competitor that did not know about. Feel free even to go to these groups and ask if there is any solution that the people might be seeing and that did not come on your radar. So my advice is to be rigorous and like don't just go for, like, start by going into the internet, to Google, to YouTube, to basic channels, but then be more rigorous and start asking questions, since your customers, people that have that problem, might know more information than you. And so feel free to reach out to them through groups, ask simple questions, and then maybe you'll find competitors that you did not know about already.
Yeah. And maybe I'll add another one here, and thanks for raising this, Zach. Do not forget the substitutes, because we often look at competition as the direct competition, while in reality, and I'll give you one example. When we created Open Startup in the beginning in Tunisia, there was not a lot of programs that had content, like with home assignments and follow-up, etc. And now we know that when we compare our program to other programs, of course, we're going to compare ourselves to Whole Price or to Enactus, etc. And we know, for instance, that in our case, we segment less, we target less people, but we do more follow-up and we do more trainings, essentially, because there is follow-up in Enactus, not in Halt, but And now we know, and this is brand new in Tunisia, that sometimes people do not enroll, not because they are in Enactus or Hog Price, but because they go online and they follow online tutorials, which is a competitor, right? I might not see it in the beginning, and I think that I'm on the safe side, and I mean, we're good. As you said, GluTech, you have 3 competitors, you're cool. But in reality, you need to make sure, are they substitutes? Are there out there other product services that don't look like your competitor at first sight, but in reality, they are solving a similar problem?
Yeah.
And don't forget that.
Yeah, and also to jump in again on this point, taking the gluten example again, since 2 of my family members have that allergy. What they do in my family is they just go, there are these pages, there's these NGOs here in Tunisia that work on that problem, that monthly share a list of products that include or do not include gluten. And it's not a product with which they can test if a product has gluten or not, but it's definitely a substitute, and it helps them determine which products to use or not. So maybe these also could be competitors. So feel free to think out of the box and like look everywhere for people solving that problem. It doesn't have to be a product similar to yours. It just have to be something that is solving the same problem. So it's maybe a substitute, maybe it's a direct competitor, or maybe it's an indirect competitor. But as someone working on your startup, you will need to know what exists within your ecosystem and what other solutions might exist. So again, just be rigorous and think out of the box.
And we can add something else, Huda and Zach. Maybe it is a continuous process, which means that we need to see the competition, review the customer, review the value proposition, till we find actually the best and the most, how can I say, suitable combination. And it's needed actually all the time. It's not we submitted the home assignment number 1, that's mean the job is done. No, actually just we have one hypothesis, one picture at one time, and we need to continue the process and test it and so on.
Yes.
And just for everyone, you know that we have split the session in 2. So the next one is this Wednesday for the pitch. So Huda and Zach will have the pleasure as well to share with us their knowledge on that Wednesday at 7 p.m. I hope that we will join us, all of you.
Yeah, just for the pitch, Laina, if we can ask the teams to really try to put themselves in front of a mirror and try to put a white paper and say, okay, now if I want to tell my story, let me write the suspense part. I'm going to start there and I'm going to explain this. And then you might say, oh no, this is not smooth. The transition is not good here. So let me repeat it. So if you could do this exercise, it is really going to help you prepare the pitch deck with, I mean, and it's important that it is the one with which you feel comfortable. So if you can start this exercise, I am sure that we can test it with some teams. So today we had 3-4 teams intervene. Bravo to you. You were the most active ones.
First test.
Let's hope that for the next test, and I feel that David has been pushing some teams over there. So for this Wednesday, I mean, we would be delighted to have and see these teams, but we would really be delighted to get to know you all. And also, what we would like to do with David and Laina also and Tarek is that at one point of time, once we will get to know you more, we would love to get to match you with Tunisian teams that are doing something similar, so you get to exchange together.
Great. I think it's a good thing. Really, I encourage everyone to use this opportunity, as the deadline to submit the link of the pitch is this Friday. It's really like a test this Wednesday to test if it is, how can I say, first, let's say the rehearsal before submitting your link of the pitch by Friday. And you still have just 2 weeks to perform and train with all your team when we will do it live on the 12th of February. So I really recommend everyone to join this session on Wednesday. It's really an opportunity to test your pitch, what you would have prepared for your submission on Friday.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really great. I mean, we always have this interaction with Tunisians. For us, it's really a pleasure to work with you, and amazing ideas, great dynamic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Huda. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Huda. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everyone. And see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.